is why the Bulldogs will continue to lose games, why they won't make the top 8. It's not talent, it's... The top 8 is dead. The Bulldogs humiliated 44-12 at the hands of the Dolphins at Suncorp Stadium. That's now 6 losses from the Bulldogs' last 7 matches. And 4 losses in a row. Today I'm going to go through the game, where it was lost, but more importantly, why this Bulldog side that promised so much is now in complete freefall. And it all started in 2025. Alright, so let's start with the game. The Bulldogs started fast and hard. They, like the Cowboys game last week, the Bulldogs had their share of possession. They were on the ascendancy. They were camped in the Dolphins' red zone, the 20-meter line and the Dolphins' try line. And what seemed like an eternity, it almost was like the Dolphins were defending the Strait of Hormuz on behalf of Iran and keeping all ships out, because whatever the Bulldogs threw at them, the Dolphins had the answers for it. How many times have we said that already this season? But eventually, the Bulldogs managed to get a try through Jamin Salmon. Lachlan Galvin getting the try assist and a nice tip on. Very easy try for the Bulldogs against what I will call flimsy Dolphins defense. The Bulldogs opened the scoring. We're going in the right direction. But here's where ill discipline and poor decision making is catching up with us. Preston makes a line break. Galvin, like he did in the Cowboys game last week, gets on the wrong side of the ruck. Preston makes the break on the left. Galvin is onto the left side of the play the ball. He needed to be on the right side to get the spread going, because that's where the defense would be short. Like he did in the Cowboys game, he was on the wrong side of the ruck. He then realizes that, tries to go towards the right and gets tackled with the ball. His decision making is letting him down in critical moments. Opportunity gone. For what feels like the 100th time in the Dolphins' red zone, we just got a series of errors. Hayward threw a pass to Sam Hughes next to his hip. You don't want a big man bending that way to catch a ball. Should have been out in front of him. Sam Hughes drops the ball 10 meters out from the Dolphins' line. Then we compound it with a penalty. Coach killer. The Dolphins respond with a kick out on the full. That was very helpful to us. Conor Tracey, again, throwing a hospital pass to Salidi Tupanua, who drops the ball. But the Dolphins, with only their 6th tackle at this point in the game, are in the Bulldogs' half. Rip the left side apart. Sua grasping at air. Dolphins winger Asako makes the runaway. He goes over the speed hump at Suncorp Stadium, also known as Conor Tracey, and he scores 1 of his first 3 tries. But the good news, the Bulldogs bounce back. They go on their attack, and I want to give credit to Sean O'Sullivan here. He straightened up the Bulldogs' attack. He went straight to the line. He double pumps, which means the defenders freeze. He forces them to make a decision, puts Tupanua into a half a gap, who offloads the ball to Conor Tracey over the top to Stephen Crichton, who opens his account for 2026. Wonderful football. I'd love to see more of this from the Bulldogs. And the next time that we're down the Dolphins' end, a mere 5 minutes later, Lachlan Galvin throws a pass to Casper the Ghost instead of Bronson Xerri, who was far too flat in the attacking line. He should have been deeper. Xerri and Sua out of position. Galvin throws the ball where they should have been. Asako picks up the ball, makes a line break, gives it a Bobstock. Bobstock gets tackled, but Nikorima doing what Lachlan Galvin couldn't. Spreading the ball over to the left-hand side, given the break happens on the right. Stretch the Bulldogs thin. Selwyn Cobbo scores. Dolphins equal things up despite having barely any ball in the first half. Then, the true psychological defeat. Jacob Preston gets sin-binned. Gets steamed, a late tackle on Isaiah Katoa. Look, it's a soft call, admittedly, but we didn't deal with it very well. Nikorima throws the cutout pull to Isako. He's got 2 out of 3 tries at this point. The call didn't go our way, but there's no resilience in this Bulldogs team. Second half, Dolphins nearly score in the first minute. A line break down the left-hand side. Stephen Crichton absolutely rushing out a line for no logical reason, leaving Tuwala to clean up the mess. That leads to the attack going down the other side. Hammer throws a cutout ball to Isako. Isako gets 3 out of 3 tries, a hat-trick. Well done to Isako. Hey, he had an awesome game. While Jonathan Sua was out there tackling clouds. Jeremy Marshall-King, ghost of the Bulldogs past, former number 9, scoring a try. Lipboy Hipboy, fresh on the field, falling for dummies on the try line. Come on, mate, you gotta do better than that. Then my favourite try of the game, Katoa shaping to go long but goes short to Nikorima, who had a brilliant game himself. Getting in between Harry Hayes and Stephen Crichton, a nicely executed try from the Dolphins. Cobbo gets his double, 44-12. You read it and you reap it. But why is this happening? Why did the Bulldogs at 12-4 up, managed to succumb to a 44-12 loss. 38 unanswered points since the 32nd minute. It's not good enough. Why is this happening? Let's talk about it. What you're watching is not a talent problem alone. It's psychological. This team is psychologically fragile. They have no resilience. They don't trust each other. When your captain, your $1 million captain, by the way, is rushing out of the defensive line time and time again, you know you have serious problems. Stephen Crichton admitted as much in the press conference, not trusting the system. You're the captain, mate. You have to lead this team. And if you yourself are not following the system, then no other player has a reason to follow the system. When we go to attack and then we fail to score, you see the body language slump out of these players. You see the enthusiasm leave their bodies. Last year, this was a blue and white wall. These were brothers in arms. They fought to the death if it meant keeping a try out. This year, they're conceding tries at will. I can't tell you the amount of times the Bulldogs have conceded over 5 tries in a game this season. The Bulldogs are officially the second worst attacking side in the NRL. Only the Dragons have a worse attack. And defensively, it's the 4th worst defense in the NRL. So this team last year could at least defend. And they were scoring more points than they are scoring now. But now, they're terrible, and the ladder position says so. Second worst attack, 4th worst defense leaves you 13th on the NRL ladder. And this is where the psychology of this team is proven. In the 68th minute, Bronson Xerri got the ball on the last tackle and kicked it. You know what that tells me? The halves conceded defeat. I know the scoreboard was against them and a comeback was unlikely, but the fact that you gave the ball to this left centre to kick and get the ball downfield tells me that the halves had already conceded. That's terrible. That's a terrible message to send to the rest of these players. And Ciraldo had it right in his press conference. The middles are doing their job. I would argue the middles have done their job for most of this year. It is the spine's failure to function. If this spine was a person, it'd be diagnosed as a paraplegic because it's simply not functioning. And the thing is, this team was expensive to assemble. And I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but I need to end this video by highlighting some really critical people and some really hard-hitting facts. Our attack is terrible. We have downgraded in the spine. Conor Tracey signed a new deal, and I don't think I've seen a worse performance from an individual player after signing a new deal. It's like he's just decided he's going to retire while he plays. He's become a speed bump. He had a 25% efficiency tackle rate. He made 2 tackles and missed 5. That's pathetic. Where's the professionalism? Where's the pride for the badge? You failed to put your body on the line. You are wearing a blue and white jersey. You are wearing one of the richest histories in terms of the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs rugby league team. And to see that level of desire or lack thereof from Conor Tracey, someone who the fans fell in love with and endeared to see him put out this level of performance and lack of commitment is so disheartening. And it just talks to what the players and the coach call in these 4 walls. There's something rotten in those 4 walls because it's all falling apart. But ultimately, I come back to Cameron Ciraldo, Phil Gould, and Peter Sharp. And I have to say that because it's not just the recruitment of Galvin or Hayward into the 7 and the 9. Here is the key thing. This is why the Bulldogs will continue to lose games, why they won't make the top 8. It's not talent, it's psychological. Let me plant an alternative universe for you. What if Toby Sexton and Reid Marnie finished last year? Then the Bulldogs had already committed to letting those 2 players leave, and then they confirmed Lachlan Galvin and Bailey Hayward to be the 7 and the 9. Now, I still think our performances would be shit this year, but at least the narrative to the public eye would have been, we're going in a different direction, we're going with a younger set of players that we think can set the Bulldogs up for the future, and if we didn't perform this year, they simply could have put it down to a lack of cohesion, it's a new combination, still familiarizing themselves. But instead, because they chose to do this public denunciation of Toby Sexton, pull him out of the team, put him back into the team, the same thing with Reid Marnie, he played in the semi-final against the Panthers. By making those decisions, the results of this year, the seeds were planted when all of this conjecture happened in 2025. And that is where I have to hold Phil Gould and Cameron Ciraldo ultimately accountable. If the Bulldogs fail to make the top 8, and for them to even consider making the finals now, they'll need to win 9 of their final 14 games. For the Bulldogs to fail to make the 8, after what we saw last year, after assembling a more expensive spine than what we had last year, what's going to be the consequence of this? I mean, surely there needs to be accountability. Surely there needs to be a positional change, an appointment change, Someone needs to be held accountable for the Bulldogs' demise. And I want to get out ahead of Phil Gould getting asked on 100% footy about the Bulldogs' collapse, because what he'll say is there's a 5-year plan, we overperformed in the last 2 years, this is about where we are, it's all part of the process, yada yada yada. Phil, you've been with the Bulldogs since 2021. There's no excuses for this level of performance, and this is your assembled squad. Phil Gould infamously took the Panthers from dwellers to near top of the table, but he continued to tinker with their NRL side. We saw Matt Moylan sign a new contract and then forced to leave. We saw Wade Graham as a Panthers junior end up at the Cronulla Sharks, and we saw Anthony Griffin come in because Ivan Cleary was tired. Phil Gould is brilliant at taking a team from dwellers up to a point, and I just have to wonder if that point has now been reached for the Bulldogs. Do they need a different voice? Do they need a different head of recruitment? Do they need a different level of acumen or strategy to take this team forward into... Because the recruitment and retention that we're seeing clearly has failed. Conor Tracey re-signing looked like a good bit of business. He's playing the worst football I've seen from him in his first grade career. Lachlan Galvin was the right player. He's been shoehorned into a number 7 position, which isn't fair to him. If he was playing number 6 alongside a brilliant number 7, I think we'd be talking about Lachlan Galvin as a future number 6 for New South Wales. But unfortunately, the Bulldogs' narrative and the situation that Cameron Ciraldo and Phil Gould have put Lachlan Galvin in has harmed him more than propelled him for success. Bailey Hayward was never a number 9. If they let Reid Money go for him. All these decisions look so poor in hindsight. And these guys are paid lots and lots of money to make big decisions. But the reason they're paid so much money is because there is a level of accountability when you're in a wins-loss business. And the Bulldogs are losing far more than they're winning. And unfortunately, I think it's only going to continue. Cameron Ciraldo suggested some changes, and he challenged the New South Wales Cup side to perform against the Sydney Roosters on Saturday at 2 p.m. If you're available, go down to Belmore Sports Ground and watch them play. You've got Cochrane at fullback. You've got Dykes, who's playing in the number 6, who is naturally a fullback. I'm assuming playing 6 out of necessity. A great opportunity for those two players. A strong performance from either one of them could see them propelled into the first grade side. I think Conor Tracey is on very thin ice. And Jonathan Su'A, I hate to say it, but he was terrible. 5 missed tackles from Jonathan Su'A. After being such a positive light for the Bulldogs, it's almost like his head's already in Perth. If you've missed it, he's signing with the Perth Bears. Anyway, there it is. There's my thoughts. I'm sorry I can't come on here and say anything more positive. I'd love us to be winning instead of losing, but it is what it is. But what you will get from me is honesty. We backed the boys, got the Cronulla Sharks next week. Their fins are harder than Donald Trump on Epstein Island, so I have no idea how that score is going to go down. Anyway, enjoy your rugby league, have a good weekend, don't worry about the Bulldogs, and get out of here.